Dateline Chicago. It is 5:30 a.m. here, and I am sitting in the general press area in the basement of the Conrad Hilton Hotel. I have just returned from Grant Park, and it is difficult for me to describe the events of the past hours. I had just graduated from the University of Illinois in the spring or the early summer of 1968. My draft status was 1A, which meant I was available to be drafted at any time. I went back to my hometown, Freeport, Illinois, to work for the summer, and I worked for my hometown paper, the Freeport Journal-Standard, and worked for a fabulous editor named Bob Reed. In mid-August, he said to me, "We have one credential for the Democratic National Convention in Chicago," and it turned out that no other reporter wanted to use it. I was by far the junior member of the staff, but I was keenly interested in that convention. I think that for anybody who was coming out of school or was in school at that time, the Vietnam War was paramount. You know, there were demonstrations and riots on campuses. The country was turning against the war at that point. But secondly, the 1968 campaign, I think, had captured the attention of a lot of people. I mean, 68, as everybody knows, was one of the most tumultuous and violent years in American political history. And so I think everybody recognized that the Democratic Convention was likely to be a kind of an inflection point for the party and perhaps for the country. What I did during the week was to go to the convention sort of middle of the afternoon. The convention was in the Chicago stockyards. You know, there were moments of intense debate, argument, protest. But then after the convention, when it wrapped up, I would go back downtown and spend some part of the evening watching the demonstrations that were in Grant Park. The convention was throughout, in one form or another, a riot. I mean, there were protests throughout the week. I wrote a lot of stories that week. I wrote editorials, I wrote news stories, I wrote first-person accounts of kind of what it felt like to be there. But the intensity of the experience is hard to overstate because everything was going on all the time, and there was so much to write about, and I was trying to capture what it felt like to be there. I think everybody knew that week was a historic moment. I mean, you could see it, you could feel it. You knew the context for the convention that year being, unlike anything that we had gone to or seen. There are moments in which, a country is kind of galvanized by an event, and certainly 68 at the Democratic Convention was one of those. The divisions we have today are different. They're deep. They seem intractable. But they are different from what we experienced in 1968. I think the other thing I take away from it is, in a sense, the inadequacy of any one person to be able to tell that story. To do the job we're supposed to do, reporters need to be where events are happening, and they need to be where news is breaking, and they need to talk to people, and they need to watch and observe, and then they need to try to tell it as fully as they possibly can. The media has changed dramatically since then. There was certainly no cable television, and there was certainly no internet. But having said that, what reporters did then and what they do today is not fundamentally different. Everything's speeded up today, but the basic tools and the basic responsibilities aren't much different.